Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing another piercing related video, and this video is going to be talking all about piercing don'ts. So what I mean by that is there are certain things that you just should not do when you have a piercing or you're getting a piercing. There's just certain things that you need to avoid and that you shouldn't do, and I'm going to tell you what those things are. Everyone has different opinions on what they think is right and what they think is wrong with their piercings. That's totally fine. You have the right to your own opinion, but these are just my own personal 6 things that I do not recommend doing when you're getting a piercing or have a piercing. So the first thing that I have on my list of piercing don'ts is do not pierce yourself. Don't do it. I cannot tell you how many times a day people come to me and they say, I pierce my own belly button, I pierce my own nose, I pierce my own eyebrow, I pierce my own whatever, and the problems that arise from that. Do not ever pierce yourself. Unless you know what you are doing and you are a licensed piercer, you should not be piercing yourself. There are so many dangers and problems that can come with piercing yourself that you just don't even want to experience that. Self-piercing yourself when you are not experienced and have no knowledge of the actual piercing industry can cause things such as improper placement, rejection, infection, and just a whole bunch of other problems. You could hit a certain area that could cause problems with your entire body. There's just things that can really happen that are not good if you self-pierce yourself, and especially do it incorrectly. Don't get me wrong, those things also can happen with a professional, but they are more likely to happen if you do it yourself and you are not an experienced piercer. Number 2 on my list is no piercing guns. Do not go and get pierced with a piercing gun. Oh my gosh, okay. So my 3 lobes right here, the 1, 2, 3 right here, those were done with a gun. I was very young. I don't remember getting my first ones done because they were done with a gun at the mall in Claire's, okay? Everyone has probably gotten their first lobes done with a piercing gun. Totally fine, whatever. Now that you're older and probably watching this video, you should probably know is do not go and get pierced with a piercing gun. I could go on and on and on, and I could make a whole separate video on piercing guns alone. But if you get pierced with a piercing gun by someone, they are not a piercer. If you go to a shop and someone whips out a little $10 piercing gun, you need to walk the fuck out because they are not a licensed piercer. If you are a licensed piercer, then you know full well the dangers of piercing guns and should not be using them. So if you are someone who got your upper ear pierced with a gun, or your nose pierced with a gun, or your tragus pierced with a gun, or anything pierced with a gun, it's just bad news. Don't ever do it. Piercing guns are much different than going to a professional shop and getting it done with a needle. Piercing guns cause a lot of trauma and damage to the cartilage or the whatever area that you're getting pierced. They very likely will not heal correctly, and you will suffer a lot with hypertrophic scarring with a gun more than you would with a needle. Number 3 is do not change out the jewelry too early. I get this all the time, especially number 1 with belly button piercings. People think that when you get a belly button piercing, it is going to be a smooth ride and you will be able to change it within weeks. That is not the case. For example, belly buttons can take 6 to 12 plus months to heal. They are not fast healing piercings, they are surface piercings. They do take a lot of time, TLC, and a lot of, really in-depth care to heal a piercing. And when you are changing the jewelry too early, you are disrupting the healing process and you will just have a whole bunch of problems. Trust me, I've been through it, been there, done that, and also I've seen it with a whole bunch of other people. They change the jewelry too early and more problems arise and the healing time is doubled. So please don't ever change the jewelry out too early. Always ask your piercer, and I promise you this, if you have a belly button piercing and they say you can change it in 2 weeks, I am here to tell you right now that that is not the case. Just certain piercings take longer to heal. Every piercing is different and you really have to take into account what piercing you have. Not every piercing is the same, and you really shouldn't be changing it out too early, especially because some piercings heal from the inside out or the outside in. So, in some cases, just because it looks healed on the outside does not mean the case on the inside, especially with belly button piercings. It may look good on the outside and you've had it for a month. As soon as you start to change it out too early, boom, you're just gonna get all kinds of different flare-ups. Just leave it in, pick something that you like, that you will be okay with to wear for the entire healing process. Don't expect to be changing it and wearing a whole bunch of little, bits and bobs in there for a really long time. You have to let it heal, leave the jewelry in, let it heal, and then after that you can change it as much as you want. Number 4 is do not over clean your piercings. And I know people are gonna be like, but why? Cleaning is so good for them. The more you clean it, it's gotta heal faster, right? No, that's not how it works. Piercings do not do well if you don't clean them, and they don't do well if you over clean them. Over cleaning them is like, 5 to 6 times a day. Like a nose piercing, for example, if you're cleaning your nose piercing more than 3 times a day, that's pushing it. I would not recommend doing that. Never ever over clean your piercings, because what you're doing is you're just irritating the skin and you're irritating the piercing. Because especially when you are over cleaning, you are washing away some of the good bacteria that it does take to heal a piercing. So definitely do not over clean. Yes, definitely keep it clean, but overdoing it is just not good for the piercing. Just like don't under clean either. Like if you just get a piercing and you're only cleaning it once a month, I wouldn't really recommend that at all either. 2 to 3 times a day is what I would recommend for cleaning piercings, and that's really all you should be doing. Don't go over that and don't go under that. Number 5 is do not use alcohol or ointments on your piercings. Rubbing alcohol is way too harsh for your skin and for the piercing. It will do nothing but make it red, irritate it, and dry it out. Don't do that. Alcohol is probably the worst thing you could use on your piercings, along with tea tree oil. You should never use tea tree oil to clean your piercings as well. You should only be using tea tree oil for instances under hypertrophic scarring, things like that. Alcohol should never be used. Same with ointments. I get a lot of people who say they use Neosporin on their piercings. I don't know who is telling you to do that, but you need to stop now. Neosporin is a really thick ointment. The ointment will get trapped into the piercing and could cause possible infection. It can also really clog and suffocate the piercing, and it won't be able to breathe, and they're just gonna have all sorts of problems, because a piercing heals best when you're allowing air to get to it and oxygen and letting it breathe. When you are putting ointment over top of a piercing, the piercing cannot breathe with that thick, heavy ointment on top of it, and it's just not good for the piercing. Your best bets to use on your piercings is non-iodized sea salt and non-scented antibacterial soaps such as Provon. Those are the 2 things I highly recommend. They have helped so many people. So those are really the best bets to clean your piercings with, or H2 Ocean. Some people will say that their piercer said that sea salt is harmful to the piercing. It is only when it's used incorrectly. When you are using too much sea salt, it can get dangerous and it can get really drying and really just not good for the piercing. So please use it correctly. 1/4 teaspoon of non-iodized sea salt, 8 ounces of hot water. Let it cool, and that's your perfect mixture for sea salt. When you're underusing it, it's not gonna do much. When you're overusing it, it's just gonna do damage. And the final piercing don't, number 6, that I have for this video is do not play with your piercings. Very, very easy concept to take in. Just don't play with them. If you're playing with your piercings, especially while they're healing, you are disrupting the healing process. Healing's gonna take even longer, and you're just gonna cause problems, especially if you were at work all day, let's say, and you come home and you start fiddling with your new ear piercing. You're just putting all the bacteria from your hands from work into the piercing that's trying to heal. Just don't do it. The only time you should be moving them is when you're cleaning them, and even when you're cleaning them, don't move them that much. Just slightly move them when you're cleaning them. Don't jank them up and down, or don't pull on them or anything like that. Just the only time you should be touching your piercing is when you're cleaning it. Other than that, leave it alone. The more you leave your piercings alone, the better they will heal, trust me. And another thing I want to say is don't take your piercings out to clean them. You leave the jewelry in when you clean them. Taking them out is just not, you're just upsetting the piercing. Just leave it where it is, clean it, and you will be just fine. Okay everyone, so that is everything that I have for my piercing don'ts video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful for some of you. Like I said, if you have anything you want to add, go ahead and throw it down in the comments. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, but until then, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. I love you guys so much. Bye!